So in the last couple of days, a news outlet called GDC Media did a top 100 players of all time list, and it's caused so much controversy because it's pretty awful really. You had someone like Angel Di Maria, no disrespect to him, but at number 17, best player of all time. And also one of the worst ones, Antoine Griezmann above someone like Thierry Henry, which is just, that's the worst shout of all, I think. But in other news, FourFourTwo, a big magazine in England, also did in the last few weeks a top 100 players list, which kind of gone under the radar. But I'm just going to take a look at it and see what players have got right, what players have got wrong, and obviously just go through the top 10. And yeah, because they did miss out quite a few big players, so let's get into it. So looking through this list, it's clear that they've tried to, remember historic players, which is, fantastic because that's who, create the game basically and brought it into popularity. However, they have missed out a lot of modern players who, I can't speak on lads from the 60s and 70s. However, players they missed like Luis Suarez, one of the best strikers of all time, and without a doubt, he's probably had the best Premier League season in history. I mean, you might have the Henry where he got most goals and most assists, but Luis Suarez, 13-14, when Liverpool just came short winning the league, was, in my opinion, the best Premier League season individually. And they also missed players out like Andrea Pirlo and Alessandro Del Piero, two big Italian players, which, you see some of the players on the list, surely, especially Pirlo, should have got there. He's had a long, fantastic career, as Del Piero did. But, again, you miss players like N'Golo Kante, which probably one of the most defining midfielders of the 2010s, really. At one point, probably 2, 3, 4 year span, he was just unplayable in that midfield. And then the biggest one, which I'm pretty surprised by, but Neymar. There's no Neymar on the list, which I just can't get my head around because, yes, he might have dwindled out a bit too early. He's gone to Saudi now at 31. But he started so young at Santos. He won the Puskas Award at 18. And then he went to Barca at 22 or so. And he was part of the the best front three really ever. If you can name a front three better than them three, then fair play. But Neymar should have been in that list, top 50, top 40 in my opinion. He's one of, if not, top 10 talented players I've ever seen. So those were just the glaring ones for me. So to start off the list, one of the most glaring ones at the start is at 98, and we have Kaka. And I think Kaka is one of the best attacking midfielders of the 21st century, really. But with some of the players that I mentioned that aren't on the list, that had maybe shorter primes which you'd use against them, surely that has to be with Kaka as well, because he shone very bright, but it was only, an 8 and 9 year period. He did win a Ballon d'Or in that period, and he was one of, if not one of the best, one of the best players in the world at the time. However, I don't think he's ever been Luis Suarez. I don't really think he's ever been Neymar. And that's not to disrespect him. He's bloody close, and people would argue he might have been better than, but I'm sorry, if someone like Suarez isn't on that list, then Kaka, for me, 150 top best players, yes, but if you're in the top 100, you have to be the best, one of the best of all time, and to me, Kaka will be pushed off that list. So the next one I saw was at 84, and we have Wayne Rooney, and to me, I think that's pretty low for him. I think he is a top 50 best player of all time. He started so young, and again, his career, dwindled a bit too early, maybe 32, 33, and he should have still been playing. However, that 12, 10-year period for Rooney, he was Man United's constant. He was one of, if not their best player for most of his time there. Won Champions League, won countless Premier Leagues, won FA Cups, League Cups. If he's getting counted against with his England, performances, then I suppose they all have to, because that golden generation just didn't win anything. But to me, Rooney has to be higher. And on that note, again, I can't believe Steven Gerrard isn't on this list. Are you telling me there's 30, 40 centre midfielders better than Steven Gerrard in his prime? But anyway, that's just what I know. It's going through now. Then next at number 45, which, this might be a bit premature. He's definitely going to be top 20 one day. But Kylian Mbappe, he's probably top 100 of all time. But again, these players that I'm mentioning, he hasn't yet had a better career than Luis Suarez, in my opinion. He hasn't yet had a better career than Alessandro Del Piero, in my opinion, because he's 24 still. He's won his World Cup, but he's been in the French league his entire career. he's never won a Champions League with a star-studded team, so surely, you know, this counts against him a bit. I mean, being 45 is really high. It's higher than a lot of, you know, massive players here. So, a bit too high for Mbappe just at the moment. Number 31 as well, I think is too low, in my opinion. I know these are all modern players because, like I said, I don't know about these historic players because I've never seen them play. However, Manuel Neuer, my opinion, goes top 20. At one time, I personally think he's the best goalkeeper who ever lived. In that 2010s period, especially till 2010 to 2015, you know, he won the World Cup, he won a Champions League with Bayern, they dominated, and he was scary to play against. I remember that one against Arsenal when the ball got hit across the box, and I think it was Theo Walcott coming on the right wing, and Neuer just stuck his arm out, and it just ricocheted off his arm, and I had no idea how he saved it, but I feel he put fear into strikers in that period, and I feel he also modernised the sweeper-keeper position because you'd be on the break, and the striker, a quick striker, would think he's through, and then next thing, he sees this 6'5" German fella just completely taking him out, and that's why I think he was so maybe revolutionary in his position. I know there's a lot of keepers who've played off the back before him, but Neuer definitely top 20 in my opinion, maybe in top 15. At 29, I've got a bit low again, Thierry Henry. Maybe have him in the top 20 as well. I mean, he's probably the best striker of the Premier League era, and he's World Cup, Euros champion. He's had a great international career, and you know, he might have had not the 15, 18-year career that some players might have had. However, I mean, that Arsenal period, he was unplayable during that, especially that Invincibles team. And then, you know, he succeeded at Barcelona for a couple of years after that. So, me personally, I'm at least going top 20, top 25 from Henry. This is the last one before we get into the top 10, but at 19, I've got Paolo Maldini, and he should definitely be in the top 10 in my opinion. I think he is the best centre-back of all time, maybe like best left-back, centre-back, whatever you want. He won Champions Leagues, he won numerous Serie A's, he played his entire career for Milan, which, you know, is quite desirable and it's quite cool. He had such a 20-year career or so, and I think he just missed out on the World Cup. He just retired a bit before that, which is a shame because that's just the thing that he needed, really. But to me, I mean, there was no better player than Maldini in defence during his prime, and I know I was a bit young, more at the back end of it, but some players just transcend eras, don't they? And you know what they're about. So at number 10, they had George Best down, which, from all accounts, you know, playing in the 70s, 60s, fantastic winger, one of the best of all time, Man United legend. So can't really argue with that, I'd say. Then at number 9, who I could speak on a bit more, you got the Brazilian Ronaldo, which, I mean, if those knee injuries just didn't hit him, I know it's a cliche nowadays, but if there's one man that applies to that is Ronaldo. If he just didn't get injured, he could have been first on this list. I mean, you've seen the documentaries about him. It's so interesting to see how good he was at such a young age. I think he won the Ballon d'Or at 22, was it? And, you know, World Cup champion, lots of titles for Real Madrid, Inter Milan, and just one of the most dynamic, quickest. When you watch highlights of him, because I recommend younger people do, it looks like he's sped up, which is just incredible, but probably about right, I'd say. Then you got Di Stefano, and yeah, I love watching him when I was a kid. But in reality, I haven't seen any footage of him really. You know, just the highlights. I know he won aches of Champions Leagues for Real Madrid. He started them off as the European giants. So I think it's fair enough to honour him in the top 10. Fair enough. Then you got Beckenbauer, who, me personally, like I say, I didn't see him play, but I think Maldini should be probably higher than any defender on this list. I know Beckenbauer was just iconic, you know, won the World Cup for West Germany. And, I mean, what really can you say about him? I just think there was a defender that might have earned it just slightly more than him. And at 6, you've got Zidane, which, who's going to argue with that? I mean, he's one of the, if not just the best central midfielder of all time. I mean, it's just so fun to watch highlights of Zidane over the years. His touch, I mean, that one where Barthez, I think it was an international game, Barthez threw it to him and he just caught it on the Cruyff turn, like mid-air, and just took it around the man. It's just incredible. He had such a good touch. It was so fun and just great to watch. And again, a bit too young to see his full prime, but I mean, you hear your parents and your dad speak about him. He was good enough to definitely be number 6 in the top 100 of all time. 5, you got Johan Cruyff, arguably the coolest footballer of all time, and you know, invented the Cruyff turn, and just fantastic player. Again, see highlights of, study, see what he was about or so, and yeah, no arguments here. You could probably interchangeable with him as Zidane because they're similar players. Cruyff a bit more attacking, but dominated with Ajax, turned them into a European giant as well. And yeah, no complaints. So to me, these next 3 are interchangeable. I've seen one's full career and then the other 2 I haven't. But at number 4, 4-4-2, I've got Cristiano Ronaldo, which, again, can you argue with the 2 ahead of him, which we'll reveal in a second, but fantastic career. One of the best, if not the best, left winger of all time, and then moved to the striker. So many goals. Bit of a bad end to his career, you know, going to Saudi now. It's kind of his PR has gone down a bit, but I mean, just watching out Real Madrid and its Man United years, it was just fantastic to see. And you know, won countless amounts of Champions League, countless amount of titles, Ballon d'Ors, everything. So could have been second, could have been fourth. It's up to you, really. Then you got Maradona. You know, again interchangeable. Didn't see his career, but you know what he's about. Everyone speaks about him so highly, and I mean, it's fun to see, isn't it? I don't know if anyone's seen that Maradona documentary, but it's interesting to see his off the field antics, but how he used to get himself ready for the weekend, which was pretty funny to see. But at the end of the day, he's one of the best players of all time. Maybe second best dribbler after, of course, you know who, but yeah, third, not too bad. Then you got Pele, and I mean, what can you say about Pele? He's iconic. I mean, what, he won the World Cup at 17, and did play most of his career in Brazil, so didn't really get to be in that Europe elite at the time. But I mean, still, it's the goal scored that he has. He's just so iconic. It's the World Cups with Brazil that really pushed it over for him. But like I say, the last 3 could be interchangeable. Because I know him more, I'd go Ronaldo second, and then Maradona third, then Pele fourth. But again, people older than me will know better or know worse, who knows. But yeah, Pele second. And at number 1, just the undisputed in my opinion, there's no argument, Lionel Messi. He's the best player of all time. He's still doing it, I know, in the MLS, but he just won the World Cup to just finish off his legacy that just concretes him as the best player ever. I mean, he's so fun to watch. I think my favourite Messi game was against Leverkusen, I think it was in 2012, and he scored 5 goals, and it was that prime Messi where he looked a bit overweight at the time, but it didn't matter because he was just so good on the ball, and he just had this natural ability that no one else might have ever, really. And he's just been so fun to watch. I've been lucky enough to see him live once against Roma when they beat them 6-1 at the Nou Camp, and it just blew my mind how good he was, how quick he was on his feet, and he will go down as the best player of all time, probably most fun to watch, and just great to see. So at the end of the day, it's not a bad top 10 by 4-4-2. I think Maldini for me should go in that top 10, but again, I mean, Franz Beckenbauer, you can't really argue with him really. But yeah, if you think I've missed anyone, I mean, there's a lot of players that aren't in this top 100, and I mean, Luis Suarez, Del Piero, Pirlo, they were just a few players that I found out, but there were so many more that they've missed. And I think they went heavy on the historic players, which, you know, fair play, but a lot of us haven't seen them, so it'd be maybe more recency bias or just how the game's progressed over time. But yeah, leave a comment if any of your favourite players or anyone you think needed to be in there was in there. You can leave a like, that'd be great. And if you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be fantastic. I'll have more content coming out like this. But yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time.